I happened to be looking at my favorite online marketplace to find free items being given away when I stumbled across this mower. Now the listing wasn't very old, it was only a few minutes, and the general location was only a few miles from me. When I entered the address into my GPS, I soon realized I had been to this place before, which makes it a lot easier to find. I just wish they were all this easy. What's up everyone, and thank you for stopping by. Today's project is this classic Murray mower, and the problem is that I don't know if it even runs because I just got it home after picking it off the curb from someone who was giving it away for free. But before I get this mower working again, I want to give it a good cleaning. That way I don't get dirt in places where I don't want them to be, like in the fuel tank or the carb. Now, it's really not that dirty. As a matter of fact, it looks like it's covered in some light dust, and that's it. However, if you take a closer look, you can see certain areas that are much dirtier than the rest of the mower. After removing the gas cap, I don't see any gasoline in the tank, but there is some residue in there, so we might have to clean it. Otherwise, we could clog up the screen on the pickup tube with some debris. I also want to see how the oil looks, and of course to see if it's low. Now according to the dipstick, there's plenty of oil in there and it doesn't look too dark. However, I'm still going to drain it. The reason is I don't want to have any leaks from the engine while I have the mower on its side. The other reason is because when I store my equipment, I typically drain all the fluids out of it to reduce the chance for a fire, which makes the storage facility pretty happy. While it's on its side, I'm going to examine the condition of the mowing deck, and I hate to say it, this is pretty bad, but I've seen worse. I don't think it's ever been cleaned, and it's also got plenty of egg sacs waiting to hatch. I also noticed that the blade is in really good condition, but it's on upside down. It looks like it's been sharpened a few times, so I can only assume they must have accidentally put the blade on wrong the last time they sharpened it. Most of the oil has finally been drained, so next I'll replace the dipstick and start cleaning the grass off the mowing deck. Now for this one, I'm only using water and will not do any scraping, and we'll see how it looks. There's nothing wrong with scraping the bottom, but I do want to keep from losing any more paint. The more paint I can keep on it, the less rust will develop. At least that's what I'm hoping for. So after spraying it down for several minutes, most of the grass clippings have come loose and been washed away. The good news is that there doesn't seem to be a lot of paint missing. I guess having that coating of grass clippings kind of protected the paint. Now at this point I could use a large brush to remove the last bits of grass, but I'm not going to bother as we got the majority of it off already. The next thing I want to do is remove the blade and install it correctly. Like I've said before, you can still cut the grass with the blade on upside down, it just won't look as nice. I don't see any damage to either edges on the blade, so whoever was using it took care not to run over anything else other than the grass. Now the beveled edge is still sharp, so I'm pretty certain they installed it wrong right after they last sharpened it. Before I start spraying the top of this engine, I want to take a few precautions. I'm going to remove the air filter, and instead of just covering the carb opening, I'm going to cover it and then use the filter cover to keep it in place. Now this filter is practically brand new, so that means that someone took care of this mower up until the point they put it onto the curb. I'm also going to do the same for the gas cap. Now once that's done, I can start safely cleaning it. To start off, I'm going to use my degreaser, and although it's really not that dirty on top of the engine, it really shouldn't hurt anything. Now since it's not that dirty, I won't be spraying that much on here either. Just be careful not to get any of this in your eye or breathe in the fumes from this stuff. Now for the dirtiest parts, I'm going to spray quite a bit more there. Now, most of the wheels don't look all that bad, but for some reason, one of them looks like this. Now, this is the wheel right behind the chute, and it makes sense that it would be covered in dirt. The only thing that I would guess is that they were mowing a few spots that didn't have a lot of grass and was mainly dirt. Now the other wheels look pretty much like this one, which is the left rear wheel, just kind of dirty and pretty easy to clean and not nearly as satisfying to clean as the other one. Now the dirtiest part of this mower that wasn't under the mowing deck is of course the carb area. That means we'll have to use a lot of water in this part as compared to the other areas. That's the reason why I took the extra precautions I did, and you'll see what I mean here in a bit. Since all the dirt has come off the carb and the fuel tank, it's made its way to the top of the mowing deck, which means we can finally start rinsing the dirt off of it. Now once I did, I finally got to see just how good the paint actually is. It's mostly intact with very few scratches, which means it either wasn't used that much or there weren't really any obstacles to mow around. Now, one of the dirtiest places that's pretty easy to clean is under the chute. Since it's plastic with no paint, I'm going to use my scraper. Now, since the dirt is still wet, I don't have to use a lot of pressure when doing this. After that, I'll then use my brush to get the rest of the stuff I couldn't get off with my scraper. I only did half of it to show you the difference, then I'll clean the rest of it off. Of course, that means the area around the opening in the deck for the chute would also be extremely dirty as well. Of course, since there's paint here, I'm not going to use the scraper and just use the brush. I'll only consider using the scraper here if there's a stubborn area that won't come clean, which did happen but only needed a second scrubbing to get clean. The area right behind the muffler where the access panel for the valve springs are located is also very oily, which of course collected a lot of dirt. This spot would be a great place to test how well the degreaser works. Now after a few minutes of scrubbing and a final rinse, it looks much better now. I might have to check the bolts holding the plate to make sure they haven't come loose. There's only one last area of the mowing deck to clean, and that's the left side, which is where all the scratches are. Now this happens a lot since the other side has the chute, which means you have to use this side to get close to obstacles as humanly possible. The last thing we need to do is take off the plastic pieces we use to keep the water from getting inside the carb and the fuel tank. I also trimmed the extra pieces of foam from the filter just to make it look a bit nicer. The reason the filter was a bit bigger than the base is because I don't think it was an OEM filter, but a generic one. Once the water is dried off, it's very apparent that this mower is in really good condition, which should make it a lot more attractive to its new owner. I used to think these simple classic mowers weren't worth a lot of money, but I've grown to see their value. They're a lot lighter than other mowers, and since they don't have a lot of extra features, they won't have problems with those features later on in their life. The best part is that when things do go wrong, the parts aren't really that expensive. Now, if my Honda mower started having issues and I had to wait a few days for parts, I think I could pull this one out of the garage and start it up and finish the job, until I get the parts I need for my other mower, that is. I would probably keep using it, except I would have to convert this to a mulching mower, which is something I don't want to do. They don't make mowers like this anymore. It's something you can take care of, and it's just going to be reliable year after year. There's very little plastic on here. A lot of it's metal, and it's meant to last. If there is plastic here, it's also made to last as well, not like the stuff we're buying now. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.